It's BB and Dealey, we know you have been waiting, so here's another podcast about movies, Burn After Watching.
Welcome to the Burn After Watching podcast. I'm Borderland, and today we are joined by Dan.
Hello.
We are finally out of the terrorizing, well, how do you say that? Of terrorizing ourselves.
Yeah, the horror fest is now over. Now we go straight into Christmas.
Straight into animation film, you know, like sweet stuff and just political drama. It's nice to get back into Oscar season because I feel like I kind of mentioned this last week quickly. It just felt like I was not adding anything to my top 10 for like a really long time.
Yeah.
Like for, I think like Love Lies Bleeding and then like 3 months of nothing. And then like I'm slowly starting to like, I keep watching film like, oh man, this is good. And just keep putting stuff into my top 10. I picked at yours as well. Seems like there was a little bit of a shake-up, so I love that. I love that Monkey Man, Diddy, and Dune keep switching places every couple months.
It's so funny. It just you know, I don't think I've actually rewatched any movies so far, but it's gonna be something I have to do before the end of the year to finalize my list of 5.
See, you asked me last time and I said I didn't, but I did. Me and Mary rewatched Dune Part 2.
Nice.
And I think that's I rewatched Kinds of Kindness. And that's it for like the top 10. I think everything else it's a single watch. So yeah, I'm gonna if I have some doubts, I will rewatch some of them for sure. But I'm excited because I feel like we have a movie that we might actually disagree on. It's been a while. It was I think in October that you've seen it. I've seen it a bit more recently. Yeah. But I wanted to chat through The Wild Robot.
Oof, I'm very curious on your take because everyone, for the most part, I follow on Letterboxd has rated it in like the 4 to 4.5 range, and I think I gave this a 4.5 as well. Yeah. I thought it was one of the better animated movies I've seen in a long time. It's obviously like this robot. It gets stranded on this deserted island, but it's all animals, and these robots are there to help people, not animals, because that's just how they were designed. And there's a lot of like themes of finding yourself, like the self-discovery, almost like a robotic growing of what's it called? Growing of age tales, like the Snack Shacks of the world, coming of age. Well, you know,
growing of age.
That's the same thing almost. Same thing. But yeah, I thought this was really well done. Like I thought the animation was really nice. The storylines were really good. The cast, the main robot Roz is played by Lupita Nyong'o. The fox, I think, is Pedro Pascal.
Yep.
And a bunch of other fun voices. I think like there was one of the geese or swans is played by Mark Hamill, like the old one that's like directing. Or like
Bill Nighy, the dude from About Time, Harry Potter, Odd Fuzz.
Oh yeah,
Love Actually. He's also like voicing. Yeah, a lot of good voice acting.
Yeah, and I just thought like it was. On TikTok, you often find these movies where it's like, you know, me before watching The Wild Robot, and it's like a plain face, and it's like me after watching The Wild Robot. It's like I have to call my parents. I have to reprioritize my life. It caught me so off guard, and probably like the last like 30 minutes was just like a steady stream. So I really liked it. The credits were rolling and I couldn't stop crying. So
that's crazy.
It hit me hard.
I heard all that hype. I was really hyped. I wanted to go see it in theater. We were traveling to Denmark when it was kind of like running in theater, and me and Mary kept saying we almost went to see it while in Denmark. We were like, if it's raining, we're gonna go, because there was a theater like across the street from where we were staying, and I was like, hey, you know, like why not, right? Like if it's raining and there's nothing to do, let's just go check it out. They're playing in English. but like end up being great weather, so we didn't go. But by the time we were back, it was actually rentable. So I was like, hey, you know, like she really wanted to go see it. I really wanted to see it. So I was like, let's just do it at home because it's going to be so much simpler. And yeah, like actually like an hour before we started the film, I saw that a TikTok of like about like, you know, us before seeing Wild Robot, us after, like just two people crying. Yeah. And I sent it to Mary. I was like, let's go. Like it seems like everybody loves this thing. And like the animation is super dope. Loved it. One of the prettier animated film. And I feel like I was actually having a discussion with someone else recently. Like, what are the animated film that could get nominated for, you know, this year? Like, what are the one that are even like in contention?
Yeah.
I think the big one that came out this year is Inside Out, which I didn't like at all. I thought it was kind of bad compared to the first one. Like, it didn't work for me at all.
Yeah.
Then there's Garfield, which I haven't seen, but I heard it's very mid. Then there's gonna be Moana 2. Oh, but I don't know if that's animated technically. I think it's live action.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's another big one. Despicable Me 4, I guess. And then there's Moana 2 will come out, which I assume will get nominated just because it's Moana.
I think there's also Kung Fu Panda 4.
Oh yeah, God, I haven't seen that.
Like it's bad, but it's good, you know. It's
I don't mind Kung Fu Panda, but like no, I didn't see that. It feels like there's not a lot of great animated film this year.
Yeah, definitely not a lot of options. Like to your point, like Inside Out 2, I think it's still highly rated, but it's not as impactful as the first one, Garfield, Despicable Me 4. There's also the movie Transformers 1, which is great.
I'm interested.
Cast, but like, you know, it's not something I was seeking out, but I'm sure those are the biggest ones up.
Yeah. Transformer, I'm interested. I'll watch it at home. I mean, I don't care about Transformer enough to like go to the theater, but the animation style looks cool. Anyway, Wild Robots, I felt like was slam dunk. Like, let's go. Like it looks amazing. I know I haven't seen The Last Puss or like from last year. Is it same director? The Shrek thing.
Puss in Boots? Is that what won last year?
Yeah, it didn't win, but I believe that. So the director of The Wild Robot, Chris Sanders, directed How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch, and I think he was somewhat involved in Puss in Boots 3 from last year, because the animation style is very similar. I haven't seen it, but like I've seen like some footage, and I know it's DreamWorks. So anyway, like I was really hyped. Like the first 15-20 really worked, and then I felt like the pacing was getting like, it felt like things were moving way too fast. At some point, like once like we kind of get the characters set up, the like baby geese, is it a geese?
Yeah, it's like I think it's a geese. I think it's a goose. Yeah, I think it's
a goose. Like immediately become like a teenager. It felt like the pacing was really weird. Like I don't know if they were really trying to get that 90 minutes kind of like runtime, but it felt like the pacing was just so fast. I was not expecting it, and then it felt out of place. It was not really organic for me. Yeah, and then I feel like to me the writing was so heavy-handed, like it was really pounding you with its message, where it was no room for subtlety here. Like like it was just like so in your face. Like the family theme, the motherhood theme, that it kind of like didn't work for me. Like I kept kind of waiting to like get this emotion and rush, and you could tell the music was going, and the score is beautiful. Everything is there, but like it's so insistent with its like message that it came out kind of fake. It came out kind of like I was rolling my eyes at some of the dialogues, because it was like, oh my God, like, come on. Like, it felt so obvious. Yeah. And then I felt like some scene also just happened a bit out of nowhere. Like, they didn't know how to introduce some of the plot point. Like, I know that, like, at like kind of mid-movie, while the goose is trying to fly,
Yeah.
Randomly, the robot kind of goes into this cave that have a bunch of dead robot, and then she's kind of like looking at pieces. But like, I feel like in a better movie, or like to me, a better movie, they would have been running together, like trying to fly, and then the robot or both of them would have fall through like a hole or something, and then fall into the cave, and then discover this, and then it becomes like, what is that? And then look at this, we have pieces, and I'm looking for these pieces to. But no, it's just like, okay, now this robot know where this cave is, even though we don't know how they know it's there. We don't know when it was discovered. If it was discovered in that moment, it was really not clear that it was. It just felt like, well, we need her to find that piece, and we know it has to come from a robot. So we need to hit that story point. We need to have this scene happen, but they didn't think about how to bring it up.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. Like, how I was seeing it is like, okay, halfway through the movie, Roz loses her purpose in life, which is to get, that little baby goose to fly. And then it's like, now she's no pun intended, an empty nester, where she has, she's technically done, and she can now go back home. So it's this whole, like, who am I, and what's my purpose here? And then it goes into the whole, once she finds that piece, she understands that this isn't what she wants to do, and saves all those the other animals from hibernation, or like from the fire or something. There's that scene where she pulls all the animals together and they hibernate in that hut, and then protects them again over the fire. I can understand like where the gaps are, and like in terms of the sequencing of events, but for me it worked, but I can see why it doesn't work as well.
I really think that visually it's awesome. I just wish it was better written. Like, all the theme are there. It feels like it was like everything was ideas, not like, okay, let's, like, what are they gonna say? Not exact, like it's like those characters say exactly what they think. There's no nuance. It's like, oh, I miss you, mother. It's just, I miss you, mother. There's no subtlety. There's no like.
Right.
It just feel like everything is said as if it was like in a movie. It just felt so, I don't know. It felt fake. It felt like they were just saying what needed to be said for like. And I understand it's a children movie, and like children cannot understand like. And it's funny, Conclave is like the opposite. There's subtlety, there's subtext, and then you have to figure it out. And two people can come out with totally different perspective or opinion or like interpretation, but like you can't. Wild Robot, you can't not think the exact same thing, because they just tell you what you're supposed to feel. And I'm gonna try to watch it again. It's funny, Mary just fell asleep in the middle of it, like 30 minutes in. She was like, and then I was like, do you want to watch it again? Like, do you want to finish it? She was like, nah. Like I watched it through, but for her, like 30 minutes in, she fell asleep, and she was like, like the first 30 minutes, which I think is the best part.
Right.
She was like, yeah, I was not really into it. And it was surprising because we were really so excited. And to me, it's just a bit too cliche, kind of by the numbers. And it's visually, it's 5 out of 5. But like story-wise, it's like, it feels like I've seen this a million times. Like every animated film have kind of like this patterns of story, but done better.
I think that's like one of the issues of like waiting to see a movie, to like, especially if it's been out in theaters for so long. Like, you know, when it comes to like, you're expecting to cry because everyone else has. There was a movie back in the day, Fault in Our Stars. That's like a teen drama angst.
I read the book. I never seen the film.
Everyone said like, Dan, like, knowing that you're such a sap, this is gonna be the movie that's gonna ruin you. And like, I watched the whole thing, and I was just like, I was like, where am I crying? Like, there was like, the themes were sad, but nothing like hit my string, like, you know, my chord. So I can see that if you were going in with such high hopes, that like your expectations were so high, and it kind of fell a bit short, right? Because you're going in thinking it's gonna be a 10.
Like, I cry easily at film, but on top of crying easily, animated film get me so much harder. Like, most animated film get me. So like, I know this. I know that like I cry easily in the first place, or like I'll tear up easily.
Right.
But animated film is just, it almost double the chances. like Coco, like all those films. Like,
Yeah.
even if I watch it multiple times, I'll tear up. Like, it's just so in my head, I was like, this is an emotional story and it's animated. I almost felt like there's no chance because even the film that people don't say they're cheered up, I did. So
Yeah.
I'm very surprised. I think it's really just because it really took me out how like heavy-handed it was. It's really what it is. And like at first I was giving it a 3.5 because I thought, the animation is really, really
Right.
cool. I actually lowered it a couple days ago to 3 because it's just like now that it's been long enough, I don't remember anything about the way it looked. Like the fire scene is cool with like the purplish fire. Like that's really dope.
Yeah,
There's a lot of visually like stunning scene, and the score is really good. I know they're doing a sequel, and I'm kind of down to watch it up. I wonder if it was kind of like, hey, like we need a movie, and it need to be short, and it need to be to the point, and here's like a little amount of money. Go do a film. If it's great, we'll give you more, and you can have more time to do the sequel. But this guy did How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon, man. That's an excellent film. That's amazing.
It's like the series that did so well, they turned it into a TV show after like 6 movies.
And they're doing a live action of it.
Wow.
So like that's interesting. But like to me, like the same director, but How to Train Your Dragon is so much better. So like yeah, it's a 3, and at this point I would burn it, but I'm willing to change my mind. I think I'm gonna give it another try over the holidays. I'm gonna give it a shot. Could change it again. We'll see. But for now, it's a 3 and it's a burn.
Nice. Mine's a 4.5 and it's a save.
And it's in your top 5, right?
It's
I
in
believe.
my top 10. But
Sorry,
my
top 10. Yeah.
my top 10 for people who are interested. It has some. Let's say
Fly Me to the Moon.
interesting- Yeah.
That's okay, but I need to watch it. I'm so curious.
It's like, I'm sure if I rewatched it right now, I'd be like, what was I thinking? But Fly Me to the Moon, it was where we watched it. So my girlfriend and I, we watched it at the Beaches Cineplex. And the Beaches Cineplex actually, because it's close to like the water, there's actually a smell of the beach. So made me almost like feel like, maybe I'm near the launch site. So it added like an added element.
4D,
Yeah, I gave this 4.5 stars. So, my judgment call is maybe a little tricky.
That's fair. All right, let's go into the main program. Is that what they call in theater, like the main attraction, the main program?
Attraction is like almost like when you go to a concert, like the headliners. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Attraction, yeah.
Main feature, Conclave, from Edward Berger or Berger. I'm not sure. He's German. Yeah, he's German. Berger. The dude that directed All Quiet on the Western Front. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that near the end of last year, and I thought it was fantastic.
It's good. I have my problem with it, but it's pretty solid. It's the 3rd time this movie is made. So like, there's an original one from like the 30s or the 40s that won best film at the Oscar, and then it was made again in the 70s or 80s, and then it's the 3rd time that it's made this exact story. Obviously some differences.
Yeah.
I really hated the score in that film. It's like a electric guitar. It's really weird. It's really abstract, and to me it didn't work. And some of it was a bit cliche. I thought like, okay, the soldier going crazy and blah blah blah. And also like some of it like was kind of obvious what was gonna happen. But
Right.
Conclave. So it's based on a book of the same name. And one of my friends read this book and told me, I can't believe they're making a movie out of Conclave. People won't like it, because he was saying like it's really not a Hollywood kind of story, especially if you know the ending. He was like, I don't think it's gonna work. And I was like, like political drama with like priests and Catholic Church and stuff like this, like Spotlight, those kind of things. It always do well. Like it does do well at the Oscar. Like it's a favorite for like the older crowd. But I had no idea what the ending was. I didn't read the book. So spoiler alert, we're going to talk about everything. Spoiler. I'm going to put in the title, but I think it's one of those spoilers that is a big one. So when we get to talking to the ending, we can talk about it freely. I remember the first thing I saw was the poster, and the poster was super dope, just like a priest in like a red kind of like building, and I was like, okay, I'm in. And the thing is, like, Spotlight is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that. Doubt is my favorite movie of all time, which is again a drama around with religion as one of the big theme. Which, and I just love people, like, movie about people talking in rooms. It's just like, for me, it's just fun. It's just a good time. So I was really excited to see this. The movie looked beautiful. First thing first, beautiful, gorgeous film. Cinematography is amazing. Score is great. I feel like it was overused. Like, they use the score all the time. And at some point, it's like, it was not as impactful as it could have been, because it's not that it was not working. They'll put the score, just people walking in corridors and having like very small conversation, but there's a big, important kind of like huge score kind of backing the like very small action, and it works in the moment, but they use it so much at some point there's like this effect where it starts to like lose its spark when they use it sometime too much. What did you think? What, like, talk to me.
So when we originally decided on this movie, I went in completely blind, and my knowledge...
No trailer?
No trailer. I don't even think I saw the poster. I just went in completely blind, and I went with my partner, Colleen, who grew up Catholic. I have absolutely no knowledge of the Catholic church system at all. I didn't even know what a conclave was until halfway through the movie. So I'll be honest. I think I fell asleep for the first 15 minutes.
What?
And then it picked up steam probably halfway through, at least for me. And as like the manipulation and the politicking, and like when it started to actually kick in, like from the pacing, like in the halfway point, that's when like I got super glued in. I thought it was just so interesting, and I'm sure this exists in terms of the conspiracies and all the corruption in any kind of institution. But I thought it was really well done. Like the cast was great. Like I didn't realize that was Stanley Tucci until like Tucci 30 minutes in. The Tucci man, and I always confuse.
It's a bunch of old men that are just killing it.
Yeah,
Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph Voldemort killer, Ralph Fiennes.
John
Lithgow. Lithgow. I always confuse him with John Cleese, but Lithgow was really good.
Yeah.
And then there was like the Italian cardinal. I don't know his name, but he did really well.
Sergio Castellito, like the conservative cardinal, the more conservative guy. Yeah.
The guy was just like vaping like the entire movie. And I thought that was hilarious.
It's funny, right? Like, because the conclave is actually like super secret. Like, a lot of people actually we don't know what actually happened in conclave. Like, it's not common knowledge. So I think it's a great setup for like a writer. I'm gonna check out the book actually. Like, I really want to read it now.
Yeah.
It's a great setup because it's a real thing that people don't know about.
Right.
It's like the perfect starting point, because the curiosity of people, like, once you know that it exists and what it's for and how important it is for, Christianism.
Yeah.
But you have no idea how it happens. It's behind locked door. So a writer can do whatever he wants. They have carte blanche, but it's still like actually like reality. So it's really interesting. And I totally understand how the first 40 minutes is, because you have this feeling where they want it to be this consistently kind of like elevating, kind of like tension kind of film. Like it feels like it thinks that it does it properly, where from the get-go it just keeps going up, and like the tension and like the repercussion keeps going up. But there is some weird pauses that I feel like it does it. It kind of like escalate, and then it stop, and then it start escalating it again, and then stop. And those stops, I think, like the editing is a bit messy. Not messy. It is inconsistent.
Right.
And maybe they were trying to use the score to kind of tie things up a bit. I'm surprised that, like, for me, I mean, for me, like, from the get-go, I was into it. But
Yeah.
I remember there was this, like, maybe an hour in, I, like, started leaning in I actually physically leaned into my seat, elbow on the knees. And I was, like, really tried to get closer, like, yeah, like, I totally get it, though. What did Colleen think?
Oh, she thought it's in her top 5. She thought it was like a 4.5 out of 5.
Dope.
I think, like, I looked over several times because I always want to make sure when I'm bringing Colleen to a burn after watching movie, like, that she's gonna enjoy herself, and she was just like you, Alex, like, locked the fuck in. She was at points leaning back because she was laughing, at points like leaning forward because it was something so shocking. Like when there was the sister came from Nigeria,
the African cardinal,
and it turns out that he impregnated her when he was 30 and she was 19, and John Lithgow brought her in as a way to flush him out of the competition.
Yeah.
But she was like huffing and hawing and oohing and like just reacting every single time something shocking came up. So I think there's people in the audience that like really loved it. And just like how we mentioned at the start, bunch of old dudes loved the poop out of this movie. I saw a whole row of like bunch of old heads. They're laughing every 5 seconds. I was like, some people like eat the shit up.
Yeah, man. Like we were some of the youngest people in my theater, and it was like a Thursday night. Thursday night, like 6 p.m. Like white heads everywhere. But it is, and I think you'll see it. I was looking at the box office. Like it's not dropping. Like a lot of the film that have a younger crowd, everybody want to go see it the first weekend, and then it will have like a huge drop, like 70% drop, 50% drop. This one is like almost staying flat because older people are very slow to go like to the theater. They don't want to go first weekend. They'll wait, right? So you'll see that this movie will like stay long in theater, but it's not gonna make big numbers. It's gonna be like slowly people will go and go. Like my dad went to see it. Like my dad doesn't go to the theater often, and often you think like the smaller film that like this movie is not getting promoted like left and right. It's not a huge film. Like to know about it, you need to like hear someone tell you to go check it out. So I was saying like, oh yeah, I went to see Conclave. It was like, oh yeah, we went to 2 and it was great, right? So I think it's attractive. Maybe I think the set of actors, like the ensemble, is really strong. It's a bunch of like actors that are super good, but it's not like you have Tom Cruise, right? It's more like low key a bit. And to me, Ralph Fiennes was the best part. Tucci was great too. Yeah. Rossellini, like the sister, was great. But Mary didn't love it as much as me. She felt like there was kind of like what's the point to the story a bit. First of all, I wonder if it was on purpose that this film was released like right around the American election, because there's a lot of parallel to me, where you have like the conservative, you have the more liberal kind of like parties that are fighting. What I like the most is this idea that like the conclave is a sealed deliberation. Is that the word?
Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting because all those cardinal and priests are locked in, and it's like it's almost, to me, I might be pushing this like really far. It's like they build those echo chamber, right? Where it feels like there's 2 sides, and then every move is just reinforcing the other side, and then all they want to hear is things that kind of like reinforce their side. So it's like they build their own echo chamber where it just reflect kind of like whatever you think, that's what you want to get back, which is like a big kind of like, to me, metaphor of like the American political system of like Republicans just want to hear the news that say that the Republicans are good, and Democrats just want, like, they only listen to argument that confirm what they already believe, which is like what's happening. And in the middle of the film, when like there's the explosion that actually like break the seal, like physically break the seal, and then you start seeing like the wind kind of on the paper that people vote on. And it's almost, that's a bit cheesy, but it's like the wind of change, like this breeze of, and that's when people also start in the film, stop listening to like the left side, the right side, and more just who they think is the right person.
Yeah.
And this is where like things start to break down. So like for me, like this idea of like breaking in the seal and like allowing something new to come in is interesting. And I think that it ties in with the ending, which to me, the ending is like everyone voted for what they thought was a representation of what they already believe or their side. And then plot twist, it wasn't. It was like they like basically people need to vote for something they think is exactly like them, even if it is not. They just need the feeling. They need to like feel comforted that I'm voting for someone that is like me, even though deep down they aren't. And then when they realize, even though they voted for them based on the ideology and the logic and the idea of that person, now it feels almost like the idea isn't as important as like who's saying it. So yeah, and to me, Ralph Fiennes as a middle ground of it, like of it all, right? Like he's running the conclave, so he's been asked to. He's basically running the conclave, so he has to kind of balance all those things, and he has his own ideology that he's trying to protect, but he's supposed to stay neutral, and he's also supposed to protect things from the outside to influence them. So he's kind of like this arbiter. And I thought that Ralph Fiennes did a really good job, kind of like in his performance, balance all of this, and at the same time, he's dealing with a crisis of faith, where he's unsure about his role in the church, but also the role of religion in like life, right? And this those thing of doubt and certainty, and like, you know, it's funny that like to have faith you have to have doubt. You need to. So it's an interesting thing, right? I thought he did a really good job, kind of like embodying all those complex emotion and balancing all of this, which is like his storyline is kind of like a micro version of like the entire story of the film. So anyway, I thought there's a lot to dig in, and to me, like this is my jam. This is the type of film that like I love this stuff, and I feel like there's so much to dig in and to like, okay, like what about this, and a lot of like symbolism. So I don't know, like I feel like I could talk for hours about, like, to me, like it's really my type of film.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things. Like for me, like this probably isn't like a film I would seek out to watch myself, but I'm kind of glad I did, because there's a lot of like symbolism. They talk about a lot of topics around, identity, be it race or sexual orientation. I thought it was really well done. Ralph Fiennes, his acting of just his facial expressions when there were all those different rounds of voting. You can't necessarily talk, and he's trying to stay neutral, but his facial reactions were really, really good. I thought he captured a lot in a single shot. The humor in the movie got me as well, like all the interactions between the cardinals. But I think the evolution, to what you were kind of saying earlier, the evolution of Ralph Fiennes throughout the movie. In the beginning, he was so neutral that the new cardinal came in, who served in like Kabul and all these places across the world. He stayed very calm and centered, saying we have to welcome everybody. This is a part of the process. And as that movie started to develop, he would start to break the rules. When the original Holy Father passed away, I guess there's a process of sealing the door, but he thought that this was a step he had to take, which he broke the seal in order to go in.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of elements of like him finding his faith by breaking it. So I thought it was really well done. I really liked the scene after the explosion. Everyone starts understanding what's happening in the outside world. The extremely conservative cardinal, the Italian guy, starts making very harsh accusations around a specific group of people. And it was just really interesting to see the divide in that one room. Like they're in a theater room, and two sides are going at it, but the single cardinal who was in Kabul stood in the middle and was almost like this perfect person to connect both sides of the party. So very well done, very interesting, and it had me hooked the second I started actually getting interested.
and I think that's interesting too, like breaking the seal of the Pope room in the movie Doubt. It's kind of a similar setup, but I think it's a lot better. Well done in the subtext and everything. But there's this idea that like one of the sisters says to another sister who's trying to uncover if a priest did something inappropriate with a student, that sometime in the service of God, you must step away from him. And that's kind of like how I read him breaking the seal, is that this idea that like you have to sometime do something that is not right to discover what was wrong.
Right.
I think to me, because it built on a bunch of things, that a bunch of other film and a bunch of other theme that like I already explore so much. I feel like there's so much in there, but I do think that it's a bit less general audience than like a Spotlight. But it's also a bit more light than a Doubt. Doubt is like a lot more in depth. I don't think it's a perfect film. Like Conclave, to me, again, the music is kind of like a bit too much, and it also I felt like when he discovered the document in the Pope, it felt a bit like, all right, like let's just, like as soon as he walked in, I was like, just find the document so we can get out. Like I know the document's in there. I know it's gonna be in a dumb place that like nobody could see it, and it felt like so obvious. Like it felt like just get to it. Like we know it's gonna happen, and to me, like that's a failure on the director's side to like keep you on your toe a bit, especially in a kind of a political thriller. Like I shouldn't know what's the next move or what's gonna happen. Especially when you have like a plot twist built in, like it should mean that like I'm kind of unsure and kind of like, oh, like where's it gonna go? But like that felt like, okay, like we're just here to get the document. Let's just get the document. Let's get it over it. Spoiler again, if you don't want to hear the twist, it's a big twist and it will change how you see the movie. So like if you don't want to hear it, just skip, or just like stop listening now and come back later on. I heard a lot of people say that it didn't work for them. And that it almost felt like the twist made it as if the rest of the movie was not... Like, what was the point of the first 1 hour and 45 minutes? Because for them, it felt like the last 15 kind of made it that, you know, like just useless or like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like it was adding up or that it was coming out of left field maybe. Right. I didn't feel like that. I had an idea what the twist would be. It was wrong, but like I was kind of close. I thought that it was Ralph Fiennes that would be Pope, and that Ralph Fiennes was like homosexual, right? And that's why he had a crisis of faith, in that he was thinking about leaving church, right? Like there's a lot of talk about him. He asked the Pope to like to leave, being a cardinal to like just become a preacher and like have his own kind of like church, but the Pope said no, because he had like more important role to play, something like that. Which I thought that because the sitting Pope, the one that died, was more liberal, that maybe the Pope knew that he was homosexual, and he thought that it was important to have people like him part of the church or something like that. Like so that's what I thought would happen. And the twist, which is like that the new Pope who's kind of Brazilian, I think, or South American, but stayed in Kabul for a while, was actually born with both sex. He was raised as a boy, and he had no idea that he had like basically ovaries. How do you say that? Ovaries. Until like he had to go to the doctor for something, and then the doctor was like, "Oh, that's weird. You have this," and then the Pope was funneling money to try to get him to do a surgery, but he didn't go through it, and that's it. So basically, he has both sex.
Yeah, I think it's my guess as to what the twist was going to be was probably a bit on point with the Italian cardinal, where I thought that the new Pope had something to do with the actions on the outside, but I was completely caught off guard. I think Colleen said that she picked up on the way that they presented some of the letters in the introduction of the movie, like as they were showing or introducing the film. There are some like, interesting things that they're doing with letters.
All the I were in white.
Yes, that's what she said. She said,
I had
to
no
me
idea
too.
what that meant.
I also still have no idea what it means, but the Pope being intersex is, I think, what the term is. I thought like the way that he presented his platform of what he wanted to do. They used that twist very well because he said that he can sympathize and empathize with both parties or both genders. So it's a good representation. What I don't understand, and I think there's some deeper meaning, was at the end of the movie, Ralph Fiennes is looking out of his window and he sees those three sisters all in white, because I assume the conclave is over, so they switch back in their normal clothes. But I feel like there's like a deeper meaning there where they walk out the door and the door closes and then the movie ends. I just didn't understand if there's some kind of deeper meaning with this new pope and us not seeing the smoke as well, because apparently at the end of the conclave, when a pope is selected, you see the smoke, but no smoke was seen.
So you see black smoke every time, like, they don't vote, like if they don't reach like a vote end, but like nobody became pope, and then it's white. Right. That's real. That's real. Yeah, that's something that happened for real. I didn't realize that we didn't see it. I remember like there was a shot of it, and then there's a whole the turtle things. I have no idea if there's like early into the film. This is they show some turtles, and there's like, oh yeah, they keep escaping. It was a gift from someone else. Blah blah blah. And at the end, there's one that is like fully escape, and then Ralph Fiennes pick it up and then bring it back into the pond. And then he looks around, and then he looks at the chimney. And then I thought we saw the smoke, but I might be misremembering. And then the last shot is basically a door close, like the tree gulls coming out and then the door closing. Interesting. I thought in the moment that I had an idea of what it could mean, the last shot, because in my head I was like, the last shot has to be like pretty symbolic, like there must be something big. Now that I can't remember what I was thinking, like I was really looking at it, I was like, what does it mean? And I felt like I had a theory, but now I'm totally blanking. so I have nothing to add. The turtle things was interesting. I kept thinking about what's the turtle things about, what does it mean? I wanted to read about it, but I wanted to have this conversation first without reading too much into it, so it's more like kind of what we think without kind of support from anybody else. Yeah. But yeah, good point. If there's no smoke, it means that he didn't, because the Pope, the new Pope, also his name was Innocentius, which is like innocent in Latin. One detail I love is that it's really like a kind of House of Cards kind of like game of manipulation, and Ralph Fiennes kind of play. He's meant to play kind of the one that we would kind of put ourselves like in his place. Right. And he keeps saying that he doesn't want to become Pope. And Stanley Tucci, who's also like a good guy, who also say he doesn't want to be Pope, eventually kind of turned and he's like, no. Like it has to be me or it's going to be them. And you realize that, like this whole, like, I don't want to actually be Pope. I don't really care. It's just a front. Like he actually really wants it. And there's this running theme in the film where it's like the people you have to worry about is the people that want to be Pope, because no sane person would want to become Pope. Right. But the people that want to be Pope is because they want the power. And Stanley Tucci played a game. He keeps saying this. He's one of the person that say this sentence, and he keeps saying like, I don't want to be Pope. And for him, it's like he's playing the game that like, look at me, like I'm not someone that is craving power. But at some point, when he starts losing the votes, he becomes like a lot more aggressive, right? And he kind of say that he does actually want to be Pope. And then he kind of returned this question to Ralph Fiennes, saying like, everyone, like, what would you pick as your name as a Pope? And Ralph Fiennes said, I never thought about it because I don't want to be Pope. And at the end, he asked him one more time, Stanley Tucci, and he says, I would be John. So Ralph Fiennes actually wanted to be Pope. He also like, it took a lot longer for him to admit it, but he already had picked a name. And it's interesting that then the last Pope at the end picked the name Innocent, which to me feels more like like this idea that he's the one that truly didn't want to be Pope, truly was not interested in the power. And this idea of picking Innocent is kind of like the flip side of someone that is knowingly trying to gain power, is someone that is innocently going to becoming Pope. And he has like a struggle. He doesn't want to put his robe on when he's Pope, and then he has a conversation and the plot twist happen. And if there's no smoke, it's almost this ambiguity of like, I think to me, it could be that there's no smoke because the Pope was not replaced by just another person that wanted power and wanted to be
Right.
Pope for the wrong reason. So it's almost like we didn't replace them. It's like a new step. It's like this,
Right.
this kind of like we moved on. Like it's not a pure replacement. So we broke the routine or the circle, something like that. Like that could be something that they kind of like hinting at.
Yeah, I think that's a very nice read. It's there's like that assistant to Ralph Fiennes throughout the entire movie, trying to like hint at him about what's happening in the real world. And at the near the end of the movie, before Ralph Fiennes confronts the new pope, he talks about like, I should have pressed down on this further because I didn't think that this was going to be the outcome. So I think there's a lot of different ways that you can read into not potentially seeing the smoke. It could have been that the rumors went out that everyone now knows like the sexual orientation of the new pope, and maybe something had happened. Like me knowing absolutely nothing about how the elections of popes going in makes my imagination run wild. So a bunch of things could have happened in my brain, but I think the leaving you with the ability to interpret yourself in terms of what the next steps are kind of leaves you with like a cliffhanger, which I think is really well done.
Yeah, I mean, I really love this. This is so my thing. Though I only give it a 4. So for me, it's a 4 out of 5. I mean, it's very strong. Like I think this is like the 6th 2024 movie that I gave it a 4 or more. I'm a bit stingy with the score.
Yeah.
Big save, big save. I'm definitely gonna rewatch this year. It's in my top 5. It's number 4 right now.
Wow.
Could go. I mean, right above is Love Lies Bleeding. I have to rewatch the both of them to really kind of like dig in. Love Lies Bleeding was so good, but yeah, Conclave is just so my thing. I think Mary was more of a 3 out of 5. She didn't love it. She was kind of like, it's good, but it's nothing more than that.
Yeah, this is a 3.5. It's a save. It's not in my top 10, but I'm gonna have to rewatch everything right now. Technically, if we're thinking about top 10s or top 5s, Love Lies Bleeding is in the 5th spot, just behind Sing Sing, Dune 2, Dee Dee, and Monkey Man. But the year is still young. All the good movies are about to come out all right now, so things can shift up very quickly.
To me, Nosferatu, that's the one right now that I have the most, like my most anticipated, my most hope for like a top 3, top 1 potentially film. Yeah. There's the Bob Dylan, A Complete Unknown, that I'm interested in, but like I don't have necessarily high hope. And I don't know, Anora is supposed to be the big one. Anora, people are fucking crazy about it.
Oh yeah, that's like everyone keeps telling me Anora. Like this is like one of the biggest movies of the year.
Yeah,
I'm curious. I'll be very interested to see what's happening. There's like a couple others that I knew were. I'm gonna butcher this movie festival, but the Canes or the Cons for the fancy people.
Both wrong.
Both wrong.
Can
but
festival.
There's a
like a canopy.
The Cannes Festival. There's the movie Bird was really big.
Barry Keoghan.
Barry Keoghan was in there, so like there's some hope for
A Different Man. A Different Man. Yeah. That I want to see. I missed it in the theater. That's to me has high chances.
To close out this Conclave episode, if you were elected to be Pope, Alex, what would be your Pope name?
That's a good question. I didn't even think about. I would never. I wouldn't think about that because I'm not interested really. So I think technically I think you can pick whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think. Maybe like Colin can tell us. But you're supposed to pick something that has some reverence, you know? I feel like Francis.
Oh, yeah.
Francis V.
Whoa.
I mean, I don't know how many Francis. Obviously, you can't pick the number. If there's Francis, whatever the number. Yeah. Francis 16, you know? Francis to me, I would never want to be called that in real life.
Right.
Because it's a bit, how not to insult people. It's a bit... I'm picturing an accountant with tiny glasses,
Yeah.
I'm picturing, in those 2000 rom-com, the guy that never gets the girl, that is the best friend of the main girl.
Oh, yeah.
That guy is
That
Francis.
guy. Okay.
What would be your name? Would you go for a Korean name?
No, I think I go with almost like a similar thought process of yours. I'd probably go Pope Bob.
No,
because
there's no reference in Bob. It have to be Robert.
Or Bobbert. If it's not Bob, I go with like Pope Duke. Like Duke is a strong.
They would vote you out, man. They would never let you like become Pope. Pope Duke.
Pope Duke. Like that sounds like Duke is like the guy that you call when you're in a pinch. He's someone who's gonna come and fix your car, or he's gonna lend some sugar. Duke to me has it's got like lasting impressions.
I think you should go for a French name. I think you should go like Pope Etienne, or like Pope Francois, something like this.
Francois. How about Benoit?
Benoit, really nice. Benoit 16. It was like, I don't know which pope are we on right now, but Benoit 16 was recent.
Oh,
he was a scary pope, wasn't it? I feel like we pissing people off, but Benoit 16, I think, was the scary one.
Okay, I what I know is
Jean-Paul II.
But
do you remember him? Jean-Paul II.
I'm more of a face guy. If I see the face, I might be able to know, but I'll stick with Benoit. Pope Benoit.
That's really good. That fits your character, Awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Go check out Conclave. Next week, Honora. Are we doing it?
I'm game.
It's coming out. There's Honora and Erratic with you, Grant.
Oof.
So I'm going to see both. Yeah. You don't have to see both. We'll do Honora, and then if I see Heretics, I'll have a quick chat about it.
Sounds
if you
good.
see anything else fun, we'll have a chat about it too.
Rock on.